morning to both.
Good morning.
Great to have you here. We're going to start with a conversation or a story that's been talked about through Good Morning Britain. I know Lorraine touched on it as well, which is the banning of energy drink, the sales of energy drinks to anybody under the age of 16. It's been something, Tim, that's been suggested for a really long time, and finally it seems like the government are going to try and do this. I wonder, as laudable as it may be, how complicated it's going to be to implement.
Well, this was in the 2024 manifesto for the Labour Party. They said that they were going to end the sale of these energy drinks to 16-year-olds. It's quite difficult because in addition to alcohol and cigarettes, retailers are now going to have to think about the age when they're going to measure somebody. And in the age of talking about ID cards, maybe that's another thing why that might come on. But if you think about it, a child, lots of parents are at home now, celebrating, getting the children back to school, and waking them up this morning may have been a hard struggle. Yeah. And actually, lots of these kids are taking these energy drinks because they feel that they're going to give them more energy, help them concentrate better. But actually, it could be a vicious cycle. Not only is there caffeine involved in it, there's a huge amount of sugar. Can I show you how much actual sugar is involved?
Yeah.
So this is a little demonstration. How much sugar do you think is in?
So that's one typical energy drink on the market.
I think in a typical energy drink, 14 tablespoons of sugar. And I'll just give you a little clue.
Tablespoons or teaspoons?
Teaspoons. We'll get our mixtures wrong. That's one. That's two. Forget it. You could have to pour all of this in to get 14 into your coffee.
And then you get 3 coffees.
And then it's free coffee on top of that.
Espressos.
That's the caffeine content.
They'd be bouncing off the walls with my children.
Imagine that for a 14-year-old child in school when you're a teacher trying to get them to sit down, stay still and be ready to work. That can be a real challenge. So I think it's a great thing that's actually happened. How you manage it is going to be really difficult.
That's the complication side, isn't it? That's the complication for the retailers who, as Tim's pointed out, they have a lot of things that they have to try and govern, and now they're going to have to try and police whether kids are 16 or not and whether they can drink this.
It is, but I think the conversation that we're now having, which is a conversation we should have been having many years ago, and we heard the Secretary of State for Health, Wes Streeting, talking about it earlier on, and that is that we cannot continue to keep pumping more and more money into the NHS in the event of having to cure us after the problems are being created, and we need to be much smarter and much more open about having conversations about the kind of things that we are consuming, which is not having a great impact on our health. And it's not just about the fact that they're going to be wired first thing in the morning, but then they're going to crash when they come off the back of it. I have only ever had an energy drink once. It was in the run-up to the 2010 general election. We were in this huge kind of campaign mode, and we were not sleeping very much. And my kids suggested to me that I should have an energy drink. I swear, I did not sleep for 2 days. I mean, I was there 3 in the morning, completely sat upright in bed, thinking, I cannot believe, and my heart was racing, I felt anxious, I felt sick. It's all the impact it has on your personality, your mental health, everything. It's not just your physical health. So I'm glad we're having this conversation. It will be difficult in a shop. It's more for the retailer to be doing. But as a nation, it's got to be a whole of us effort to try and make sure that we start looking after our health.
I think it's also parents educating themselves as well. I mean, I knew that they were not a bad thing, and my boys have never had them. They're little, though, so it's very easy to police. But I did not realise. It's not until you actually see it in front of you like that you go, oh, my goodness, if that's been given to a child.
Even as an adult, I start getting jitters just looking at that.
Yes.
You had a wonderful young man on the sofa the other day with a boxing boy.
Yes. Jacob.
Amazing young man, and he had real struggles around obesity. Adding to the stigma around maybe slightly being overweight, giving them this as a sugar drink, it's not helping at all, and it's just going to cause more problems. So it's great that we're having the conversation. There's a huge amount of things that we could do around health and wealth for our young people, but starting them out not giving them these energy drinks has got to be a great start.
When you see Jacob and the difference, he was with us yesterday, he's lost over 3.5 stone, but regardless of the weight loss, his health and well-being absolutely soared, his confidence.
Smile.
And he still has his treats, he still gets to enjoy it, but it's all in sort of moderation, and it makes such a difference to him, and I don't think he's ever going to go back. He was a real inspiration, you're right, Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
OK.
Absolutely. OK, let's move on to the next story. We're amazed by this.
Just in shock.
Just in shock. Residents at the Henford estate in Wigan have been left furious over the construction of enormous warehouses just metres from their homes.
Yeah, the site will eventually host 4 warehouses within the council, agreeing to a maximum height of 60 feet for 2 of the buildings, which is around the height of 4 double-decker buses.
Henford estate resident Steve Retford has lived at his home for more than 50 years, which is now dwarfed by the large structures. He's joining us live from his garden in Wigan. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Steve.
So, Steve, when did you first learn about this construction that was going to take place, and what did they say to you?
Well, the farmers' fields have been the subject of development for a long time now. And this recent development took place last year when they said that they'd resubmitted planning permission from small industrial units to this colossal structure that has been erected behind the residences of the immediate area. It's just off the scale in terms of size. It dwarfs everything. You've got a junior school there, you've got private housing. It's absolutely horrendous. And there was a total lack of consultation with residents. Letters of objection went in from the previous MP and from residents, and they were basically ignored. They were treated with utter contempt, to be quite honest, at the planning meeting.
Steve, we can see from your live image there just the scale of the structure behind you. And at the moment, of course, it's just a skeleton. When eventually that gets filled in, it's going to block all the light. So you're going to get all that's going to disappear. Not only that, you're going to have all the noise of all the comings and goings of the deliveries and what's happening there as well. What have the council said since to you and the residents? Because the scale of that can't possibly have been in the original plan that you were all expecting.
It wasn't, Ben. The earlier developments were planning permission lapsed. There were small structured buildings that would bring jobs to the area and things like that. People were not against that. What has basically happened almost by stealth is that this new development was submitted to the planning committee. And we know what went on there because there was a councillor and a resident there. And they basically scoffed at the letters of objection, saying, downsize it, scale it down. It's just beyond anybody's comprehension that something like that would be allowed in such proximity. It's crazy.
And Steve, what are you and the residents doing now? You were saying that they scoffed at your letters. What action are you taking?
Well, there's a group being formed now, and we're looking to get specialist guidance and support with seeing what we can do. People are not losing faith here. Something has to be done in relation to this. The rubbing salt in the wounds was to grant 24/7 operations at this location. That will be horrendous. People will not be asleep or anything.
Steve, let me just tell you what the council have said, because I'd love to get your thoughts on this, because we approached Wigan Council for a response, and this is what their spokesperson said. The planning application went through our planning consultation and committee process. The final plans include landscaping, which will help to screen and soften the appearance and mitigate the impact on nearby properties. We will continue to monitor the site throughout construction, ensuring the development bringing new jobs and investment to the area is delivered properly. Now, of course, there's the balance with understanding that this is going to bring much-needed jobs and commercial activity to the area. But the idea that they can soften the appearance and mitigate the impact on nearby properties, what do you make of what they're saying there?
Well, that's absolutely nonsense, Ben. I mean, never in anybody's wildest dreams could you soften the appearance of that. You would have to have trees 40, 50 feet high. That just isn't going to happen. It's absolutely ludicrous to suggest that. There has been a dramatic lack of consultation in relation to this process. And that was constructed in really quick order. So you start to wonder, you know, what is the mechanics behind the scenes here that's gone on? Because there's certain the residents have adopted.
Of course, and people I'm sure are now thinking, right, I need to move away. But have you had any idea of what the impact that's going to have on property prices and the opportunity to move, and whether even anyone's going to be willing to come and move with that in the back garden?
Well, we know from people in the group, there's over 200 residents came to a meeting last week. People have lost the sale of the houses. People have backed up. Potential buyers have backed out once they saw what the situation is. It's taken tens of thousands of pounds off people's properties without any doubt. And there's been utter contempt from Wigan Planning Department for the residents. It's just staggering, Ben. You just cannot comprehend the size of this thing. The images you're seeing on screen now do not do it justice.
No, we've got... the scale of it is just epic, and we can hear and can just only empathise with what you and the other residents are going through. It must be so stressful, Steve. Look, we wish you all the best with what happens going forward, and undoubtedly the public interest in this and the outcry will be huge. So thank you for joining us this morning. Sayeeda, you've been in government. You understand the balance that governments and local councils have to have for commercial opportunities, infrastructure, to bring money to regions that desperately need it. But that feels like, as you can hear the upset and the anxiety in Steve's voice, it feels like along the way that something's gone very wrong there.
It has, and the pain in Steve's voice is so... and the fact that he's lived there for so long and he's now in that stage of his life where you're talking about retirement and quality of life and just the ability to open your door and see that. I mean, the impact it's going to have on people's physical and mental health and quality of life, I think, is horrendous. I cannot understand how that got through planning. That, you know, for that to be so overwhelming and overpowering, and as you rightly said, Ben, once the cladding goes up, I mean, the light goes out as well, and what is that going to look like? And the fact that they granted development during the process of building to 24/7. I mean, how do you allow that to happen 24 hours a day when people are trying to sleep and families and children going to school? Something's gone terribly wrong at the planning process.
Tim, the final plan, this is Wigan Council, the final plan includes landscaping, which will help to screen and soften the appearance and mitigate the impact on nearby properties. What on earth, as Steve was saying, could they possibly do to mitigate? It's too late. They've already impacted the property prices. People have lost house sales because of it. It's just extraordinary.
It just feels like a bit of a slap in the face, to be perfectly fair. You get this massive big development, which is already spoiling your view, and then they tell you it's going to be open 24 hours a day. The challenge for me is that we understand that the last mile and deliveries are on the increase. It's the 30-year anniversary of eBay and other things. We understand that there's a lot of energy, but this cannot be something that was seen as sensible. I had a big issue with just getting an extension on the back of my house to measure, to make sure the light ingress wasn't right, make sure it was a certain distance away, and the measurement was down to millimetres.
The hoop she jumped
How did they manage to get this through is beyond me. I really feel for the residents. They've got a WhatsApp community of 700 people that have come together. Hopefully that energy will push back on at least the timing of the working hours, but that doesn't look great, does it?
I mean, it's interesting because once the public sees Sayeeda on a broader scale of what's happening, you can see the swell of support for these residents. You can imagine that that's going to build in terms of Wigan Council having to do something serious about what they've done.
Yeah, you were absolutely right that we have to constantly, local authorities have to strike this balance in national government between development and ensuring that people's quality of life is not impacted. I had a very pleasant situation where when HS2 was going to be built through Yorkshire, it was going to go around the back of our house, which is currently open fields. And there were lots of people in the village who were concerned about where this was going to go. And I actually said, look, they're going to have to put it somewhere and we just have to find a way through this as long as they create the least amount of damage in the process. So I am somebody who does believe in development, but that does not look like sensible, considered development.
No, absolutely not. OK, well, let's move on to our next story. Is it sensible for us to lose our purses, Sayeeda? New research has revealed that fewer than half of us now carry a physical wallet as more people opt to make payments on smartphones and watches. I'm so old-fashioned.
You're very old-fashioned.
I am so old-fashioned. I don't even use Apple Pay.
She doesn't use Apple Pay?
Not at all.
Never used it?
Don't use Apple Pay. You were talking about Klarna as well.
Oh, yeah.
You should have used that.
Yeah,
avoid that.
But the advent of things moving from an analogue version to a technically based version, I think is fantastic.
I love a purse.
I love a purse.
Oh!
I don't...
way up there.
I don't use Apple Pay. I don't use Klarna.
You don't either.
No. Spot bananas.
And I
carry
carry cash.
You carry cash as well?
I carry cash.
What does that look like?
In fact, not only do I carry cash, the only thing I carry in my phone actually is not my card, but is actually
a photo of your husband.
We like that.
£20.
20 quid.
You have
20 quid.
to have cash, emergency cash. I carry emergency cash in my car, I carry emergency cash on my phone, and I carry emergency cash because every single cabbie I ever seem to have in London says they prefer it.
Of course they do. I mean, the interesting thing from my perspective is once I started using these digital forms of payment, I haven't gone back. The advent of being able to use things like Klarna that make things accessible to people, if it's done carefully and properly, is a really, really advantageous way of sort of commercialising business. I love the fact I don't have to take a wallet with me.
Listen, I'm convenient. My mum always said to me as a young man, never have things in your pocket because it messes up your look.
Ruins the style of the suit.
See, we understand this, right? I don't know about that. But the reality is that I am now completely committed to my phone. The challenge is it now becomes Maslow's power of needs now. It's not about safe and food and whatever. It's actually, is it Wi-Fi and is there power? Because without that connected, you are kind of stuck.
That does end up being a problem suddenly, yeah.
I do miss, though, my mum used to always, when we used to get gifts as wallets, she used to put a silver coin in it.
Did she?
There was a piece of good luck, and that was the thing that you had. So I miss those gifts apart, but I don't miss having or not having a wallet because I find the phone much easier.
Yeah, yeah. Generationally, there's a big change. Remember when I taught my dad how to use that?
No.
That was a little... Did you see my...
No. We'll get you there. But I remember teaching my dad how to use it, and he was so taken with it. He kept walking to shops and saying, look, I can use my phone. And it was a really exciting thing to be able to use it.
OK.
But, of course, he still wants to have his
wallet. Until it goes down.
Until it goes
down. And then what are you going to do? You're going to be glad that your wife's got some cash in her wallet.
Exactly.
We were talking with you guys a little bit later on. Thank you so far. Sayeeda back with us, talking through more of today's stories. And we're starting with a Kardashian. Kim Kardashian. She may be a billionaire business mogul, but she believes that homework shouldn't exist for her 4 kids. Apparently, she said, I don't believe in homework. Kids are in school for 8 hours a day. When they come home, they need to also do sports, have a life, spend time with their family. I think homework should be left for school.
So there is some merit in terms of you want your children to go to school and be prepared for the examinations or the world of work that they go off and do. Fantastic. However, in addition to learning in school, there is a bit of a discipline that needs to be learned about going and preparing for stuff in your own time. Children are only in school a couple of hours, learning multiple subjects, and they have to do preparation, whether that be coursework or getting ready for it. I obviously have to declare a conflict of interest. I'm a governor of a school that have done fantastically well in their last year's GCSE, sending lots of kids to wonderful institutions. But for me, it's very easy when you have lots of means to be able to say what you would do with your children when they're at home. There's lots of working parents who don't have the ability to stay at home and oversee what lots of children are doing. And what I'm now worried at, lots of their children will be getting TikTok videos showing Kim says, I don't need to do any homework, and they're not doing what they require. Listen, focus on making sure that you're prepared as much as you can for your schoolwork because it will set you up for whatever you want to do afterwards. If we can think about a balance between the amount of work that children do and the stress that comes with doing exams and preparing for work at school, yes. But don't come out saying that no child should do any homework. I just don't think that's the right thing.
It's an important part, I always think, Sayeeda, when I talk to my boys, and they're out of school now, fortunately for them, is that actually there's a little bit of the responsibility, as Tim's saying, that you do it on your own as well, because actually, later in life, you're going to have to go to work and you're going to have to be prepared, you're going to have to be able to deal with all these sorts of things. And actually, homework does instill a bit of that, I think, has worked for them as well.
It does, but this is probably the only thing that Kim Kardashian and I are going to have in common, which is that actually, I think there are many ways in which kids learn. If I go back to the time when my little one was growing up, I took her out of school often. I've talked about that. You know, I didn't always encourage her to do her homework, but I did provide lots of other learning opportunities. And I think for example, when my child was growing up, I wanted her to learn Arabic. I wanted her to learn things around cultural studies. I wanted her to learn other languages. And all of those things happened after school. And often what she'd find is she'd come home from school, she'd then be off to lots of other classes, she'd then come back and then she'd have a whole load of homework to do and then she'd go to bed. So I just felt like there were lots of things I wanted her to learn, and I wanted her to learn when I was travelling, and I wanted her to learn, you know, when she was meeting family, and lots of other skills which didn't necessarily involve 2 hours of homework every night. And, you know, in some schools, and they do give them a huge amount of homework. It's not just the half an hour, 45 minutes. It can be hours of that work, even when they're still quite young.
To Tim's point, though, you were a very engaged parent who had the opportunity, the means to be able to say, right, we're going to do this and I'm going to help you do it as well. And lots of parents perhaps don't have that opportunity, don't have that the means, don't have the sort of the time to be able to sit with them or help them do all those things. So actually, the homework side of things, as you were saying, becomes a really important tool in the armoury of the kids' futures.
Correct, and let's be clear, some of the homework's really hard. I remember going with COVID, trying to look through my son's math homework and some of the geography stuff he's doing, and it can be quite challenging, and particularly if you've been out of education for a long period of time and you're then having to oversee some of that homework, you don't know always the best way to support them. So I think what the happy medium is, taking on board some of the stuff that Kim has said, is that we have a homework club. So for those who don't have the ability to go home, because you've got to remember, Wi-Fi connection is not always, access to technology is not always for everybody. We have the ability to stay in school and do the homework in a supervised environment. Obviously, pressure on teachers and with our education system, that can be quite hard as well. But I think we've got to remember, this is for the benefit of the children. It's not just a tick-boxing exercise. It's for them to learn and be prepared for the exams and the world of work. If we can find a happy medium where they get the cultural activities and everything else, as well as learning about the subject, it's got to be a good thing.
OK, Sayeeda, do you often have people around to your house for dinner? Do you throw dinner parties? Do you host?
Events.
We love an open house. And, you know, I've been away for the summer in Yorkshire at home, and we've had an open house practically throughout the summer where we've had lots of family round, the kids have been back, lots of people just popping in and out all day, you know, big vats of food made and people can help themselves. I love that feeling of having an open house. In fact, you know, I love having friends around. My husband thinks I'm running some sort of closet B&B somewhere. Random people keep turning up, and not just come and, you know, spend the day there, but actually spend time with us, overnight stay with us. And yes, there is a massive cleaning process. You know, I think it took us a week to put the house back together again once everybody had left. But I think the biggest stress isn't so much, you know, cleaning up the mess afterwards. It's like creating the perfect, pristine home for when those people arrive.
Well, I think maybe that's part of it as well, is the feeling of that pressure. More than 4 in 10 Brits admit they avoid hosting anyone in their home because they don't want to clean up afterwards. Now, I'm a bit like you, Sayeeda. I like open house and I like people coming and going and I like everybody helping in the kitchen and then clearing up and washing up and putting the music on and having a glass of something. And so I quite enjoy that. But you don't do any of that?
So I like the engagement around the table, seeing people, having the stories, making memories. My bit is, my wife is very, very specific about preparing the house. Everything has to be perfect. You have to make sure the downstairs toilet's got toilet paper in it. You've got to make sure that all things are prepared.
That's quite important.
Well, it depends. No number twos in our downstairs toilet. Quite loud, right? So don't worry about it, right? But essentially...
That's a different facility. Not the downstairs.
It's all the preparation that goes in, which I sometimes think overrides the fact that you just want to sit round and have a conversation. More importantly, I'm upset I haven't got an invite from you two around the
I definitely, for me, it's like, similarly to I like being with your friends and all that stuff, but the idea of the bit afterwards where you know you're going to have to tidy it all up and put it all away, I kind of think, should we just go out?
Yeah.
Should we just go out somewhere?
Have you never heard of the Mary Poppins thing of snap your fingers and then it's fun?
No, strangely, no.
Come on.
No, strangely.
That's why you have children, get them to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
If only. If only we have to. Are we out of time? We can't talk about the Wetherspoons tour, which my teenage sons would go on at a drop of a hat, by the way.
I learnt what a woo-woo was this morning.
Yeah,
Didn't know what that was.
We'll have to do that another day. Tim, Sayeeda, lovely to see you both.
Likewise.
It is as exciting as it sounds as well. Thanks for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.